Now, you see, we have been discussing about a lot of topics starting from the basic assumptions of stellar structure. We talked about the equation of continuity, so basic assumptions. Then we talked about equation of continuity. These we derived in our previous classes. Then energy equation, and then in the energy equation final form, after considering thermal equilibrium, where the u dot will be 0 and all the dots will be 0, you get the equation for energy conservation. This we obtained, right? And after that we talked about the composition equation. Then we also talked about virial theorem and its various applications as well. Now today what we are going to talk about is again quite fundamental. Yes, another very important thing. Here we talked about the equation of motion and your hydrodynamic equilibrium equation. Okay, so these are the important topics which we have covered till now. Now what I am going to tell you, first let me give you a background. You see, if this is your spherical star, now what happens in the very beginning? In the very beginning we have a very large clump of mass, and just as a result of the gravity it slowly contracts, right? So initially only gravitational pressure was there. Now slowly what happens, as I have already told you before, the temperature increases because the particles come closer to each other and then they heat together. So when the particles come closer to each other, they keep on colliding with each other, and slowly and gradually the temperature in the very core region, the density increases, temperature increases, and after some time when the temperature is very high, now quantitative estimation I will talk about in the nuclear astrophysics classes. Now when the temperature is very high, then what happens? We can have fusion reaction, and as a result of the fusion reaction a lot of energy will be increased, and this energy, most of them will heat up the nearby gas particles, ionize a lot of them as well. But what will happen as a result is that the gas pressure will start increasing. So this is pressure due to the particles, and slowly this gravitational pressure and the gas pressure will be at an equilibrium, and then we will have a star, something like this, where we will have a hydrodynamic equilibrium, which means the inward gravitational force, inward, and the outward pressure forces, they are at standstill. Okay, now you see many things can happen in this period. So what are the things? You see, the first thing is fusion reaction, right? Now there is not just one fusion reaction, that means hydrogen to helium only. There are many other steps as well. Thereafter, if the mass is very large, then we can have carbon fusion, then neon fusion, and so on and so forth. So many things can happen. Also, the density in the very central region will be very high, but after the fusion reactions there will be rearrangement. The density will be changing, it will be becoming more and more dense. Similarly, the temperature will be keep on increasing. How? You just see an example. If we have two hydrogen atoms, okay, then what is the Coulomb force between them? You can estimate. Now suppose instead of two hydrogen atoms, if you have say two helium atom, then what will happen? The Coulomb force will be roughly 4 times at the same distance. So this means to overcome the distance between the helium and to make them fuse, the temperature will be very high. Understand? Of course, quantum mechanical tunneling will be there for our help. But still, what I want to say, as we go to successive higher fusion stages, the temperature will keep on increasing. Not only that, the density will be increasing. Now, it is very interesting to think that as a result of this increasing temperature and density, what will happen to the overall pressure? I am talking about the gas pressure at this moment. What will happen to it? How will it change as a result of this? Now, say for example an ideal gas. We know PV is equal to nRT. So, pressure is roughly proportional to temperature. But the question arises that as temperature increases, as density increases, will we still be having the same old ideal gas? Or will the dependence of pressure on temperature will slowly change? You understand, students? Now, again you can also think that is it possible that at some point of time pressure just becomes independent of temperature? Is it possible? Now what will happen if such a thing happens? What will happen if the pressure becomes independent of temperature? Then you will see, just clearly, if the pressure becomes independent of temperature, then what will happen? Even if the temperature increases, keep on increasing, the pressure remains constant. But as the temperature increases, the fusion rates will keep on increasing. But since the pressure is constant, so what will happen? Gravity is also constant, but the fusion rates will be increasing. And as a result of very high increase in temperature, the fusion rate will go on. And since the fusion rate will go on, the rate of release of energy will be very high, and as a result the entire core will start increasing, right? Expanding. The entire core and all the surrounding regions will start expanding. So a lot of very different type of phenomena could happen as a result of the changing nature of pressure dependence on temperature and density. Okay, so what we are going to talk about today is basically the equation of state, gas and radiation pressures. So this is our topic of discussion, right? Now, as I have been saying, you see, basically, so what is EOS? Basically, it is equation of state. And what it is? Basically, these are equation of state is an equation which relates the pressure, okay, to density, temperature, and there is something else as well. What is it? You see, I have told you just before, when fusion happens, hydrogen turns to helium, then we have carbon, then neon, and so on and so forth. So what is happening is that the composition is also changing. Remember the composition equations which I just talked about in the last class, right? So the composition is also changing. This means that our pressure will also depend on the composition. What ions, what gases are inside the star? Of course, the pressure will depend on them, right? And if the gases change, if the nuclei change as a result of reaction, then the pressure will depend on the new nuclei formed. So this means that our pressure will also depend on the composition. Okay, so equation of state is basically the equation which relates the pressure to density, temperature, composition. There could be other variables as well, but I am right now not talking about them. Okay. Now you see the most familiar equation of state. What is it? Well, you do know. It is the ideal gas law. it can also be written like this, right? Or okay, now you see, so this is our ideal gas law. Now, of course, the ideal gas law does have some assumptions. What are they? Well, it do assume that the constituent gas particles are non-interacting. Not only that, they are also point particles. So, what means point particles? This means they obey classical physics. Right? So, non-quantum statistics they will follow. Now, in order to determine when the ideal gas law can be used as an equation of state for stellar interiors, we need to estimate the degree to which the gas particles can be considered non-interacting. So, you understand? Now, what I am going to do is basically I am going to test the validity of ideal gas law in stars. Okay, so you see, আমরা কিভাবে এগোচ্ছি, আমরা জাস্ট জানি যে what do we have at hand. We know this gas law very well, right? So let us start with this and see how things change, and then we will, along the way, we will make some changes, and then probably we will arrive at the real gas which is there inside the star, and that will be possible after we compare our calculations with the observations. Okay, so what I am going to do, I am going to talk about these two assumptions. Okay, so I am going to estimate the degree to which the first, let me talk about the degree to which the gas particles can be considered non-interacting. Now, at the expected temperatures in the stellar interiors, what will be the gas consist of? The temperature is very high. Okay, so of course the gas will consist mostly of completely ionized atoms. Therefore, the dominant interaction will be by Coulomb interaction. Okay, now this interaction can be characterized by the electrostatic energy between gas particles. This we know. Now, if this energy is significantly smaller than the average kinetic energy due to the thermal motion, so this Coulomb energy, if this is significantly smaller than the kinetic energy due to thermal motion, then what will happen is that any interaction will only alter the thermal energy of the particle in a very negligible way. Then in this case we can essentially consider the particles to be non-interacting. So we will check this thing. Now, the average kinetic energy due to thermal motion is comparable to what? kBT or kBT average. T average is the, of course, average temperature of gas throughout the star. Now, if you remember the calculation for this T average, it was done in my last lectures. There, using the virial theorem, we approximated that this is like so just a second, here, yes, let me start our nomenclating. Okay, so this is equation 1. Okay, fine. Yes, in our last class in the virial theorem applications, we found that this can be given like this. This is equation 2. Here, this A is basically the average baryon number for the gas particles, and alpha is just a constant of proportionality. So you see the typical electrostatic potential energy between two particles. How much is this? So electrostatic potential energy between two particles, it is approximately, we know this, right, where this Z into E is the average charge. This is average charge of gas particles. Now we estimate, let us try to estimate the separation distance D here by assuming that the average separation is the length of the side of a cube containing a single particle. Then what can we write? Then you see, we can write like this. And how much is this? So this is basically, now I have expressed rho, and so after this 4 pi r square divided by volume, right? So mass by volume, density mass by volume, volume is 4 pi r square. So if I do this, I will get this result. Now this is equation 3, this is equation 4, where this M and R here, this R and this M, these are capital M, they are basically the total mass and radius of the star. MR star, total mass and radius. Now what will we do next? So remember what our aim is. Basically we want to compare the Coulomb energy and kinetic energy. Okay, so the ratio, let me write down then the ratio of the Coulomb energy to the kinetic. Yes, so you see the ratio of Coulomb energy to kinetic energy. So it is this quantity, and this is what we have. Now if we assume alpha to be order of 1, then what happens is this quantity over here, this becomes approximately equal to 0.1. Next, if we further assume that the bulk composition of the star is hydrogen, which means that A is equal to Z is equal to 1, then what happens is that we will get this quantity to be approximately 0.01. Now I am writing this in terms of the mass of the star, of the sun, solar mass, divided by M to the power 2 by 3. This is very interesting. Now this is equation 5, this is equation 6. I think the previous equation I forgot to, no, this is equation 4. Nomenclature is okay. So what do you see here? From this expression, what can you infer? From this expression? Well, so you see this number. So basically we infer that the Coulomb interaction contributes less than 1% to the typical energies involved in particle interactions. And so this means we can use our ideal gas law. Okay, so this is good. So this was the first test that we did. Now let me talk about the next assumption which we did. Well, you see, as I was saying previously as well, the next assumption that we made in using the ideal gas law is that the particles interact classically as particles rather than quantum mechanically as waves. So the second assumption is basically classical. It has to do with classical physics. So point particles, right? Now, in order to estimate the degree to which quantum effects play a role, so here we are going to estimate the degree to which quantum effects play a role in the interactions between gas particles. Now, for this, let us look at the typical de Broglie wavelength of a gas particle compared with the average particle separation. Now, if the de Broglie wavelength is small compared with the separation, then there is negligible interference of the particle wave functions, and so quantum effects can be ignored. Understand? Now, assuming non-relativistic gas particles, let us write down the de Broglie wavelength. I am using the previous results. Okay, this is Boltzmann constant. Now this is equation 7. Okay, so you see, now we will compare this with the average particle separation. Fine, let me write it down then in the next page. So now if we compare this with the average particle separation, then you will see we get this result. You can do this by yourself and even check. Now again we are getting this sort of relation. So what does this mean? So this means that for typical solar values, so for typical solar values, the interactions is dominated. You see this number 0.01. Had it been 2, 3, 5, 100, then you will say no, quantum effects are important. But here, because of this number, this is very small, of the order of again 1%. So with this we can say that indeed the interactions are dominated by classical effects. And thus we can conclude that, so our final conclusion that IGL is valid in interior of typical stars. Typical means I am not saying all the stars. This sun-like typical stars. So this is our conclusion. Any questions till now? So basically we started discussion on the equation of state, and then we talked about what is an equation of state, and then I wanted to test the validity of IGL in stars, ideal gas law. And as you can see, we are successful in our endeavor. Now this is equation 8 following our nomenclature. Okay. So next we are going to talk about gas pressure. Now you see a gas that consists of several different species of particles. As I have told you before, what is happening in the star, there are so many, not only hydrogen but helium, other metals are there. And not only that, even considering hydrogen, we can have hydrogen atom and then ionized hydrogen. So proton and electron, they are separated as well. So basically we are talking about in the stellar gas which consists of several different species of particles. Now how are we going to describe them? Since we saw that IGL is good for stellar interior, so basically for the different species of particles we will use the ideal gas law for each species, right? Then the total pressure in the gas is the sum of the pressures due to individual species, right? So total pressure is equal to sum of pressure of individual species. This is fine, this is quite logical. Now you see, we usually break the pressures up into three types, right? You see, we break the pressure into three types. One is ion pressure. Next is electron pressure. And after that, what do we have? So we have ions, we have electrons. Come on, don't forget the photons. They are also there. So we have radiation pressure as well. So the total pressure, you can write it like this. Now we can define a parameter beta. Let us define a parameter beta such that beta gives the fraction of total pressure due to gas. So this means, let me define pressure of gas as beta into P. Then we can write the radiation pressure as 1 minus beta into P. So what is happening? I have just skipped one part intentionally. What I want to do is I am basically saying that this ion and electron together, they can be called as gas pressure, and then we have radiation pressure. Okay, so three terms, these two, they are basically consisting of the gas pressure. And now I am defining beta such that pressure of gas is just beta into P. Then what about pressure due to radiation? 1 minus beta into P. This nomenclature will be very useful later on. Now let us talk about the gas pressure. Now gas pressure arises from many different ions, and the number of electrons will depend upon the temperature and the type of ions. So let us start by looking at the ion pressure, which is basically the sum over the pressures due to each ion species, and this I have told you before as well. So let me write down the expression. This is the expression. This is equation 10. Yes, this was equation 9. Okay, so this is equation 10. Now, what is Xi? Xi is basically the mass fraction of each species. So that we can write like this. You see, mass fraction, I am writing in terms of density, and this is equation 11. Here this m average is basically the average mass of a particle of the gas. Fine. Now let us define mu as the mean molecular weight. Let us define mu to be the mean molecular weight or mean atomic mass, to be the atomic mass of an average mass, so that what will we have? We will have this thing. Right, and thus this is equation 12. Now you see, since the majority of the matter in a main sequence star is made up of hydrogen and helium, this I have told you before. So we separate them out and lump all other elements in a group called metals. Thus, let me define X as the mass fraction of hydrogen, then Y as the mass fraction of helium, and Z as the mass fraction of metals. Now if we do that, then you see we find this result automatically. Equation 13. I urge you to check this result by yourself. This is not very straightforward, but I would ask you to check this. Okay, so check this if this is indeed so. Here again, A average, as you can see, is basically the average atomic number of all metals, because I have already substituted the atomic mass for hydrogen and helium over there. Now for metal composition typical for our sun, you see this A average has a value of approximately 15.5, and if we define R as Kb by mH, then we have for ion pressure this relationship. Fine. So this is the final expression for ion pressure. Let me now talk about electron pressure. Okay. This is equation 14. Okay. Let me now talk about electron pressure, which is given by fine. Now in the interior of the star, we can safely assume that every atom is completely ionized. Then the electron number density we can write like this. Here, assuming completely ionized. So this is assuming completely ionized situation, and this is equation 16. Now let us define one, just like mu, we will now define a similar quantity here. This quantity, which is basically the average number of electrons per nucleon in the gas. You see, mu E is basically the average number of nucleons per electron, and so this quantity is basically the average number of electrons per nucleon. Now, what does this lead to? This will lead us to two very important things. You see, this will lead us to Ne is equal to rho by mu E and mH, and also not only that, but also it will lead us to this important relationship. Again, I am asking you to check this. Check if you really get this relationship. As usual, this quantity Z average by A is the average number of electrons per nucleon for the metals. Now, if we assume this to be half, so let us assume this Z by A to be half, then we will finally get this relationship. Here. Now, it is important to note that as the star burns hydrogen, the value of mu E, it increases. Now, you see the electron pressure is given by, just like our previous case, the electron pressure is given by this expression, so that total gas pressure, yes, the total gas pressure, now we are talking about it. So, sum of ion and electron is given by this final quantity, equation 21. So, equation 21 basically gives us the total gas pressure, where the total mean molecular weight of gas is defined through this relation. Okay. Any questions? So, next let us talk about radiation pressure. Okay. Now, the ideal gas law comes from assuming that the pressure arises from the transfer of momentum from the particles in a gas to the walls of an imaginary container. Right, this is how we started in our graduation days. Now the calculation of the force exerted on a hypothetical surface due to an system of particles with momentum distribution Np dp and velocities v, basically this result in an integral known as pressure integral. This is a very important theorem. So the pressure integral is basically given by this. এটা তোমরা হয়তো আগেও দেখেছো. I am not going to derive this at all. However, I am going to use this. Now, the pressure integral, basically what it does, it defines this pressure. It defines the pressure in terms of momentum flux. So, I am defining pressure in terms of momentum flux through a unit surface area. Now, for non-relativistic massive particles, what do we use? We use our Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution of momentum. And what is that relation? In momentum distribution, this relation basically is this. And using this, we can get our ideal gas law. Now, I would like you to check this. Again, check that indeed using this momentum distribution, so I would like you to evaluate the pressure integral for this distribution. Okay, so the question is evaluate the pressure integral using the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution and indeed check that you get the ideal gas law. Okay, so this is a homework for you. Now, this pressure integral, this is also valid for photons because they also carry momentum. Now, however, in this case, the momentum is expressed in terms of the frequency, right? The light frequency, like P is equal to h nu by c. So, using the Planck distribution of frequency for a black body, like this, equation 25, the pressure integral, it will give us this result. I have just put this value in the pressure integral. Now, after integrating this result, again check. So, here I am asking you to check two results, right? The first one is this, whether using this expression Maxwell-Boltzmann MB, Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, you get IGL, ideal gas law. And the next check right now is whether using the Planck distribution, right, Planck distribution for black body radiation, if you use this thing in the pressure integral, and as a result of this, you will see that you will get something like this. So basically you will get the Stefan-Boltzmann law here. So I'd like you to check this. So Stefan-Boltzmann law, where this sigma is the Stefan-Boltzmann constant. Now it is important to note that sometimes this quantity 4 sigma by C here is called the radiation constant A, so that we can also write the radiation pressure as 1 by 3 A into T to the power 4. Okay, sometimes it is also written like this. So we have sort of discussed and also evaluated the radiation pressure as well.